So for years, people told us as Gullah Geechees after enslavement that, oh, well, you're not slaves now, you're freed slaves. Well, isn't that an oxymoron? You can't be freed and a slave. It's like you can't be a witch and a doctor. All right? So now, here it is though, people continue to speak it and speak it and speak it. So you have somebody who hears it and hears it and hears it, and they come to believe it, believe it, believe it.
Yes.
Somebody's saying token. They then say, well, okay, you are freedmen. Well, ladies, where does that leave us? Right? So now you're freedmen. Okay, we go past that. But you are descendants of slaves. So we're right back to the word slave. But we never say you are Gullah Geechee people. Because the word Gullah means people blessed by God. So if we continue to speak the word Gullah, maybe too many blessings might start flowing, and people would actually bask in that blessing, and they would uplift instead of feeling downtrodden. Because for generations, people were stripped of their identities as Gullah and Geechee because of other people's constructs and not looking at our collective consciousness of people that worked together to maintain their family structure even in the midst of a hardship like chattel enslavement. That even when Big Shooter started things like that, or as you call it, the Civil War began, or as the Southerners like to call it, the War of Northern Aggression. Even during that period of time, people ran to the Sea Islands because they were looking for their families. And they felt that if they got back to the coast, somebody was going to be there. My sister, my auntie, big daddy, mama, somebody have a day to wait for me. And they ran home because that soil had become home, because most of them had been birthed by midwives that caught them, and even after placing them in their mother's arms, took their placenta and buried it in that soil. That soil was where the bones of their ancestors who had come before them had been buried, and where they had been going to church and things like that, doing it with. So they knew they had to get there, because the blood and the bones called them back, and there they have stayed. And instead of now being listed as chattel themselves, they become property owners because they go to auctions during the Civil War, not after, and they are able to obtain the very same lands on which their ancestors had been enslaved. And we have remained on the islands from the 1600s to now. All the way until the 1930s, we didn't have any bridges coming from the mainland to our islands. Our islands were what others considered isolated. We never considered them isolated because we know how to navigate the waters. So a bridge never excluded us from connecting with one another. Just like this imaginary line called a state boundary never excluded us either. But to many people, they allow the imaginary lines to become physical walls in their own minds. So they can't cross through it to connect to anyone else. And the more that you become bound and locked away behind walls and into a box, the less that you can breathe. So at some point, your entire life force begins to be stripped away from you. And again, have been extracted from you the essence of who you are. When they extracted the black gold, the black cargo, they extracted riches and richness. But if we tell you your own value, you won't just give away yourself. So I need to keep you in place, believing you don't have a value, except to be a tool that's used for someone else's benefit. I know some of you, it sounds familiar. You've heard of the corporation, but that's another symposium. So many times, people no longer value themselves because they've been boxed off for so long, they can't even get to a point of life that even allows their mind to be clear enough to think, to see, to meditate, to pray, to know. So they get to a point where they give away the thing that everybody else values even about them. One thing that's still going on in the motherland today is extraction. Extraction of the riches. Many believe it's only the diamonds and the minerals that are being extracted that are of value on the market today. But I say it is still the people that are the most valuable thing that we ever have in life and in the world. And when we get the village together around the world that realizes that, and that becomes our global collective consciousness, then we can all celebrate true wealth together. For generations, people have said Gullah Geechee people are land rich and cash poor. And to us, rich is rich. And so we appreciate the blessing. Whatever way you get it. And if you don't want your richness and blessing, give them on us. And so for us, it is about having our family together, our community together. It is about realizing that the blessing has been that we all have not been completely stripped of who we are, in spite of the fact that others made a great attempt to do so. By telling us repeatedly, you will never, and this is a quote from a school teacher, you will never get anywhere in life speaking like that. I had classmates told that. I was told that. In front of them, I heard these statements. See, my teachers didn't know that I spoke Gullah because I could code switch all the time. But the same teachers now come to hear me at such symposiums. And they actually ask me whether I'll teach a course on the Gullah language. And I look at them and go, are you serious? This is the same individual that told people they would never get anywhere in life actually speaking their own native language. The same individuals that issued corporal punishment to people because they spoke their own language. And now you want me to teach you the very thing that you devalued. And that if it wasn't for the strength and the wherewithal and the will of the people, our language would have been dead and you would have been there singing over it in an old Negro spiritual, burying it. And I say that to be very clear. When I hear someone call it the old Negro spirituals, I expect to hear Fish Jubilee come on out and do it. Which sounds totally different than when I say the spiritual. And I hear somebody know what I'm talking about. The spiritual that come out of the Gullah Geechee Nation don't sound anything like what I usually hear called the Negro spiritual. Because they too have had things extracted from them. And they've been anglicized and they've been changed and they have become more palatable to others on the menu.